We have no sex life at all now.
The birth of a baby doesn't have to mean the end of your sex life. Watch the next Rolonda. Welcome back, everybody. If you're just joining us, we're coming to you live today from New York City. And before we talk to Jeffrey Dahmer's parents, for the first time they're making an appearance on a talk show since their son was murdered in prison. We're going to continue talking to the families of some of Jeffrey Dahmer's victims. We have a phone call, Teresa from Pennsylvania. Hello, Teresa.
Hello. How are you?
I'm fine.
Good, Rolonda.
What do you have to say, Teresa?
Well, what I basically have to say is that my cousin was a victim of Jeffrey Dahmer, and the saddest part of I'm happy that the man was murdered. He deserved to be murdered. What I feel terrible about is that we never got to see her remains. We have no idea what has really truly happened, and we never will know because of this murder. But the man deserved what he got.
Mm-hmm. How has your family dealt after this? Because it's not just the immediate family. We're talking with sisters of two victims. You call as a cousin, Teresa, and I'm sure they're grandparents, neighbors, friends.
Yes, we've gotten a lot of mixed reaction from neighbors and friends. We originally, when this happened, my cousin unfortunately got into prostitution, and so a lot of people looked at her as though it was something that she almost deserved because of what she had unfortunately gotten into. But that was a terrible reaction for us. What we're getting now basically is people are coming around now and realizing what an animal this person was and what he really did deserve. And our family is grieving and will always grieve because we don't know what her last days were like. We don't know what she was feeling.
Okay.
And there's a lot of unanswered questions.
All right. Teresa, thank you very much.
Thank you, Rolonda.
Is there any kind of comfort that comes in any strange kind of way in having so many different victims? There's so many families that can bond together under this horrible situation, but does it give you any type of relief or comfort when you hear from a Teresa that you have each other, that there are other victims' families? Jamie?
Yes, it does give you comfort that, you know, that we don't need anybody's sympathy, but, you know, we need everybody's support, you know, for the families. Because
I think that all of us were touched by the Jeffrey Dahmer situation, and I just wondered if the grieving of all of us gives you some support at all.
It does.
Yeah. Rich is calling from Rhode Island. Hello, Rich.
Hi.
You say what?
Well, I say that I think Jeffrey Dahmer got off easy by getting killed because now he's resting in peace, whereas if he was in prison, he'd be suffering every day for the rest of his life, living in fear. Living in that constant fear. I've been in prison, and prison's not an easy place to be. So I figure by him being killed, he's just like got off the hook.
He was sentenced to 999 years in prison.
Right, and I believe he should have served every one of them days alive and suffering and living in fear.
Okay.
Yeah, like Rolonda, I've always said that I don't believe in the death penalty, but I'm referring that to depending on the crime, on what the person does. Like with Jeffrey Dahmer, that was an easy death. Even what happened to him in prison, I mean, he deserved a slow death.
Jeffrey
That's how
Dahmer
I
himself, if you'll remember, said, I deserve to die. I deserve the death penalty.
Yeah. And another thing I wanted to say, too, is I don't know if you heard the father and the mother, you know, they're discussing about the ashes, you know, what they should do with the ashes and everything. We didn't even get a body to bury. We had to give a memorial service, 2 memorial services with just a picture. You know, that's got to be the saddest thing in the world. And I just wanted to say something about the ashes. What they ought to do is they should crush, I mean, they should just flush that down a toilet and get vomit on, because that's what he did to the victims.
I know that you guys had mentioned that part of Jeffrey Dahmer's whole thing, he wanted to make zombies out of people so he could have sex slaves in his house. He ate hearts. He had body parts all around. When you were sitting in court as a family member listening to this, what happened to your brother, you can imagine the emotions. Before we go on, I want to take a look. Let's go back to a scene I don't think any of us can forget, the day that Rita was in court.
My name is Rita Isbell, and I'm the oldest sister of Erroll Lindsay. Whatever your name is, Satan. I'm mad. This is how you act when you are out of control. I don't want to ever see my mother have to go through this again. Never, Jeffrey. Jeffrey, I hate you, mother. I hate you.
What are you thinking, Rita?
Every time I see that, I can just visualize myself in that courtroom all over again. I don't think the public realized what the family members had to go through in that courtroom just to listen to each and every one of what happened to each and every one of our victims, one at a time. I was angry. They made me go last. I was raised in hell in that courtroom from day one. We were in there from sun up to sundown. When it was finally my turn to get up there, after listening to all the other family members, they had prepared speeches. I didn't prepare a speech. I had no idea what I was going to say or what I was going to do. But that was my very first time seeing his face and that close to him. It was like the evil in me came out, and it was like evil to evil. And he knew that I was just as a bigger devil than he was. And if I had gotten to him, Rolonda, I would have been in the penitentiary.
We'll be right back.
Racially motivated was not sexual preference. It was just to find an obsession with the best looking young man I could find.